Let's start with today's themes analysis. आज का सबसे पहला टॉपिक है US is doing a trade deal with India, says Trump. So basically, US President Donald Trump stated on Wednesday that Washington is pursuing a trade deal with India, emphasizing his great relationship with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Speaking at the APEC CEO's summit in South Korea, Trump praised Modi's leadership, calling him tough and the nicest looking guy. He reiterated his claim that he used the prospect of trade to help reduce tensions between India and Pakistan during their May confrontation. So Trump explained that he spoke separately with both the leaders, telling Modi that the United States could not finalize the trade agreement while India remained at war with Pakistan. He conveyed similar message to Pakistan's army chief Asim Munir, whom he described as a great fighter and a great guy, urging restraint because the nations possess nuclear capabilities. According to the Trump, after these conversations, hostilities eased within 2 days. So basically, this article is important with respect to US-India relations and the developments which are being made on with respect to the current trade deal and all. उसके अलावा what is India taking a stand against US pressure for for buying Russian oil. So you need to study with respect to that. क्या जो टैरिफ प्रेशर्स अप्लाई किए जा रहे हैं उसका क्या इंडिया जवाब दे रहा है या इंडिया का क्या स्टैंड है और अभी तक आगे क्या स्टैंड होना है इसको थोड़ा सा डिटेल वे में आप स्टडी कर लेंगे तो आपके मेंस का जो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का पेपर है दैट वुड बी वेरी हेल्पफुल फॉर दिस. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक आपको इसी में है FTA talks with EU crossed halfway mark as said by Piyush Goyal. So negotiations between India and European Union on a free trade agreement have crossed the halfway mark with 20 chapters of the agreement having been finalized and several other chapters nearing completion. So Union Commerce Minister, as said by the Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, we have made significant progress in 3-day discussion. European Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security Marko Sefcovic and his team and our team on several areas. So this has been said by Mr. Goyal on it at a press meeting. So this is also important with respect to international relations topic, that how the FTA talks and the FTA agreement, if it is finalized, can be beneficial for India and as well as EU also. And also you need to study कि किन areas पे ये deal lock हुई है और उससे इंडिया को क्या इफेक्ट पड़ सकता है. ये यूपीएससी ओरिएंटेड टॉपिक्स हैं सारे इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन से रिलेटेड. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आपका एन अमेंडमेंट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बिल. इट्स कंटेंशियस इशूज. सो द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हैज़ इंट्रोड्यूस द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन 138 अमेंडमेंट बिल टू अमेंड आर्टिकल 75, 164 and 239 AA concerning Union and State Council of Ministers special administrative provisions for Delhi. So the bill proposes that a minister arrested and kept in custody for 30 days should automatically cease to be a minister. The aim is to prevent continuance of the individuals facing serious criminal proceedings in the executive office. So a similar provision would apply to Delhi targeting misuse of the ministerial authority. Two main contentions have emerged, that opposition concerns on selective application and judicial discretion issues. ये दो मेन कंटेंशंस इमर्ज हुए हैं. एग्जिस्टिंग लॉ क्या है? BNSS, दैट इज भारतीय न्याय संहिता के हिसाब से, साक्ष्य अधिनियम के हिसाब से, दिस अलाउज पुलिस टू अरेस्ट persons accused of cognizable offences and punishable by imprisonment, but arrest is not mandatory. So courts have previously held that arrest must not be used to harass or as a punitive measure. Bail should be the rule, jail is the exception, as in the Arnesh Kumar case. Automation cessation from office after 30 days of custody could lead to political manipulation such as the engineered arrest. Opposition protest might be curtailed under the fear of arrest-based disqualification. Bail decisions are often subjective, creating discretion concerns. The bill does not account for offences under special laws like UAPA, NDPS, etc., which have stricter bail norms. Critics fear the amendment may become a tool for political vendetta. The article suggests greater scrutiny to prevent misuse and to preserve democratic fairness. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आपका डिकेड आफ्टर पेरिस अकॉर्ड एन अनस्टॉपेबल ट्रांजिशन. So 10 years after the adoption of the Paris Agreement at COP21, the world faces aggravated climate challenges despite global efforts. While global warming remains difficult to limit to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the agreement has driven unprecedented energy and the economic transformation. Affordable renewable energy, including the wind energy and the hydroelectric, is rapidly expanding, creating jobs and improving the energy security. So, electric mobility is accelerating with electric vehicles reaching nearly 20% of the global car sales. The International Solar Alliances, found by India and France, has gone into a major coalition promoting solar access for developing countries. The EU aims to cut emissions by 55% by 2030, with half of its energy expected from renewables. However, success depends on collective global collaboration, fair transition principles, climate finance, and combating disinformation. Despite obstacles, the transition initiated in the Paris is described as unstoppable as governments, industries, and investors continue to advance climate action. Continued belief and cooperation will shape future progress. So this was the basic gist of this article. Let's move on to next. Next topic है आपका uneven growth. Increasing incomes and creating jobs are must to boost the demand. So industrial production data on September offers insight into quarterly and half-yearly performance. While Q2 growth improved to 4.1%, half-year growth was a weak 3%, the slowest in 5 years. Manufacturing was a bright spot, growing 4.9% in July September 2025, its fastest rate since late 2023. Though growth is uneven across the sectors, mining activity contracted, partly due to a poor monsoon. Over half of the 23 manufacturing subsectors shrank, especially labor intensive industries like apparel, leather, rubber, and plastics, raising job concerns. Consumer non durables contracted for 6 quarters due to weak demand. Policymakers must focus on boosting the incomes and creating jobs. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आपका नॉर्वे एंड इंडिया ग्रीन मैरिटाइम पार्टनर्स. So basically, this article highlights growing maritime cooperation between India and Norway, focusing on sustainability, blue economy, and green shipping. Now, these terms are very important. Blue economy and green shipping. This is very important term. So this was published in the backdrop of Indian Maritime Week 2025. अब background की अगर हम बात करें तो India Norway maritime ties have strengthened through India Nordic Summit 2019, India Norway Task Force on Blue Economy, and India EFTA Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement signed October 1, 2025. What are the key areas of cooperation? सबसे पहला blue economy, sustainable use of ocean resources. Focus should be on marine pollution, renewable ocean energy, climate change mitigation, and green maritime solutions. Low emission fuels, ship electrification, environment friendly shipyards, digital shipping, etc. And shipbuilding and ship recycling की अगर हम बात करें तो India emerging as a global hub, commitment to safe and sustainable recycling contributes to both economy, strategic security, etc. Strategic importance क्या है? India is positioning itself as a global maritime center, the world's fastest growing shipbuilding market. 10% of new ships ordered globally are built in India under the Indian classification societies. Now, if we talk about the industrial collaboration, Norwegian shipping companies have long ties with Indian shipyards. Example, the Cochin shipyard indicates trust and quality in Indian maritime infrastructure. अब IMO net zero फ्रेमवर्क की अगर हम बात करें तो Norway supports India's stance on decarbonizing shipping, technology transfer, and green financing. Gender inclusion initiative, India hosts maritime SHEO conference, that is the SHEO conference, backed by the Norway, promotes women leadership and diversity in maritime workforce. Targets and climate goals की अगर बात की जाए तो Norway aims to reduce emissions from domestic shipping by 50% by 2030. India Visions 2030 and Amrit Kal 2047 emphasize maritime leadership, green energy transitions. Why this partnership matters? Shared interest, oceans, climate action, technological innovations, strengthens food security, energy security, and strategic mineral supply chains. What are the challenges ahead? सबसे पहला consensus at global forums on climate financing and technology access, need for pragmatic just transitions. अब यूपीएससी एंगल से बात करें तो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के एस्पेक्ट में भी इंपॉर्टेंट है, इन्वायरमेंट एंड इकोनॉमी के एस्पेक्ट में भी इंपॉर्टेंट है। उसके अलावा जो की टर्म्स मैंने आपको पहले भी बता चुके हैं, बट स्टिल आई वुड लाइक टू रिपीट इट। सबसे पहला ग्रीन शिपिंग कॉरिडोर्स, ये इंपॉर्टेंट टर्म है। ब्लू इकोनॉमी फ्रेमवर्क, नेट जीरो शिपिंग, maritime decarbonization, and sustainable ocean governance. Now, these terms are very important for prelims based questions. So, you need to look into it. Next topic है आपका, what is China's complaint against India at WTO? So, China has filed a complaint against India at WTO over India's import restrictions on laptops, tablets, and other ICT products introduced in August 2023. India had mandated that companies obtain import licenses to bring these products into the country, citing national security and supply chain concerns. China argues that this measure violates WTO rules, especially the principles of non discrimination and trade liberalization, and unfairly disadvantages the Chinese manufacturers. So India later eased the licensing regime, converting it into an import monitoring system, but retained control through restrictions linked through the security insensitive hardware components. China claims this still hampers the exports of its electronics, including those used in the EV manufacturing, and violates the WTO's core norms. India's restrictions are also a part of its larger industrial strategy, such as the production linked incentive schemes, that is PLI schemes, aimed at boosting domestic electronics manufacturing and reducing the dependence on imports, especially from China. So, the dispute highlights growing trade tensions. China accounts for nearly 70% of India's laptop imports, and Beijing fears lost market access. India, however, maintains that WTO rules allow restrictions to protect national security, despite settlement panels may be formed. Though WTO enforcement remains weak due to dysfunctional appellate body, the case reflects rising techno-strategic competition and supply chain protectionism between major economies. Next topic इसी पेज पे है, how do cyclones form and how are they measured? So if we talk about this topic, how do cyclones form and how are they measured? So cyclones are rapidly rotating storm systems that form over the warm tropical oceans when the sea surface temperature exceeds about 26.5 degrees Celsius. Warm, moist air rises, creating a low pressure area that draws in surrounding air. So as this air rises and cools, it condenses to form clouds and releases latent heat, which further fuels the system. Coriolis force caused by the Earth's rotation makes the storm spin, which is why cyclones do not form near the equator. Vertical wind shear changes in wind speed or direction with height can disrupt the developing cyclones by tilting or weakening their structure. So cyclones weaken when they lose access to warm water, encounter land, or face strong wind shear. The IMD clarifies cyclones based on wind speed into the categories ranging from low pressure areas to severe cyclonic storms. Globally, different regions use different scales, such as the Saffir-Simpson scale. Please do study about the Saffir-Simpson scale. Let me write down the spelling. Saffir-Simpson scale in the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific, which ranges from category 1 to 5. Modern forecasting uses satellites, ocean buoys, and aircraft reconnaissance and computer models to predict paths, intensity, and landfall, helping minimize damage and casualties. Next topic is the Indus conundrum. When water is both lifeline and a fault line, so the Indus River, a crucial lifeline for India and Pakistan, is becoming a geopolitical and ecological fault line. Following the suspension of Indus Water Treaty, historically rivers have shaped civilization and economies, and their flows are deeply linked with the culture and memory. So, in this basin's hydrology is changing rapidly due to the climate change, glacial retreat, and extreme weather events. Increasing floods and droughts have already caused significant losses, especially of crops, livestock, and homes, particularly during the events of 2010 Pakistan floods. Urbanization, population growth, and unreliable rainfall intensify stress on the basin. Irrigation demands continue to rise, yet expansion threatens ecological balance and leaves both countries vulnerable. So experts argue that basin offers benefits not only through engineering projects but also by maintaining historical river dynamics. Political decisions की अगर हम बात करें तो however they are overshadowing the environmental cooperation. With rising temperature and reduced snow melt, future water scarcity could trigger further conflict. The author basically stresses that managing the Indus as a shared ecological heritage beyond bilateral politics is vital for regional stability and long term sustainability. So, this is the last topic of the day. Indian maritime sector has seen historic progress, as said by Modi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated that India's maritime sector has achieved historic progress with cargo movement, increasing 700% in inland waterways and ports now ranked among the best in developing world. At the Maritime Leaders Conclave during India Maritime Week, initiatives worth rupees 2.2 lakh crore were launched, including the acquisition of 437 vessels. Modi highlighted global confidence, noting participation from 85 countries and several memorandum of understandings on sustainability and shipbuilding. He cited major upgrades such as the modern terminals, improved logistics, digitization, and increased port efficiencies. So, India's major port, including Vizag and JNPT, have doubled capacity, affecting investment and boosting maritime capabilities. So that's all for the day. Here I end my analysis. Thank you and have a nice day. I request you to like, subscribe, and share my channel.